Hello, everyone. This is your host, Debra Poneman, and I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Sarah McLean. Best-selling author Sarah McLean has been teaching meditation and mind-body health for over 20 years and has been featured in the New York Times, Huffington Post, Chicago Tribune, and has taught meditation on national media outlets including Fox Health News. Sarah, who's the founding director of the McClean Meditation Institute in Sedona, Arizona, where she offers teacher certification and meditation training, has a vast background in meditation techniques for creating well-being. She not only lived in a Transcendental meditation community, was a 2-year resident at a Zen Buddhist monastery, and spent 6 months in an ashram in India, but also served as education director for the Chopra Center for Wellbeing and was the director of the School for the Work of Byron Katie. Sarah has studied and traveled the world developing and sharing her transformative techniques, including the simple, easy, everyday meditation method, and is dedicated to making meditation so easy that anyone can use it to immediately increase their inner peace, happiness, and fulfillment. And today, you will discover the 3 ingredients that make up every meditation, the 5 essentials to maintain a successful meditation practice. You'll also find out who you really are and what the source of your attention is, and how meditation can make you more loving, authentic, and powerful. Wow, this sounds amazing. It's what we all want. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the call.
Thank you, Debra. It's such an honor to be here and to share my love with your listeners.
Knowing you as I do, Sarah, you have so much of that, and I have been so looking forward to this interview. I can't wait to dive into the questions. And before I do, can you take a couple minutes to share what you believe to be the major turning points that allowed you to manifest your current body of knowledge and manifest really all of the success that you've had with sharing your knowledge with the world? Tell us about your journey.
Well, it all started about 25 years ago, and I fell in love twice. I was really at that place where some people reach where they say, well, what else is there to life? I was really successful. I had a great relationship, but my boyfriend said to me, if you really want to be my girlfriend, you're going to have to learn to meditate. And so I fell in love with him, and then I fell in love with the moment that I closed my eyes and was led into meditation. It was unexpected. I had all kinds of beliefs around it, and I remember a moment where I lost track of time and space. I lost track of my worries and even my desires. I lost track of any limitations I had. And it was an instantaneous experience of wanting to know more. And I became an explorer of consciousness and meditation because it was so unfamiliar to me, I'd have to say. So I went off, and as you announced in the introduction, I went to a Zen Buddhist monastery. I studied Ayurveda and mind-body health. I lived in a Transcendental meditation community. And I traveled to India really to uncover the secrets. I had learned to meditate here in the U.S., but I wanted to go to the home of meditation, India, and I even spent some time with the Tibetan Buddhist lamas and nuns up in North India, really looking at what is it, how can I be better at this? So I think that I exhausted most of the avenues, or at least the traditional avenues of meditation, and I think I got the most powerful aspects of it with leaving out the religiosity of it and having to change my belief system around God and creation. And I think that's really what informs my work, is really demystifying meditation and yet keeping the power that it really allows us to access.
You know, I love that when you said demystifying, because when you say the word meditation, unfortunately, a lot of people immediately go to something that doesn't apply to them, something that's hard to do, something that doesn't have to do with their daily lives, or something that goes against their religion.
Right.
And what you seem to have done is made it so that people really don't have to resist it. It doesn't interfere with anything that they believe or anything that they hold dear. Is that correct?
That's right. And for me, what happens is, meditation mostly comes from a monastic tradition. It's mostly male. It's born out of, sons going into monasteries and spending their whole lives dedicated to the silence and contemplative path. And it's really not for householders. So what I ended up doing was spending a lot of time exploring that myself, but finding that whether you're a housewife or a business owner somewhere, you can still use the meditation and the benefits from meditation without heading off to a monastery. I say I did it so you don't have to, but I really wanted to get the authentic experience and the authentic practices so that I could translate them for anyone who really wants to know, how does this work? Why has it been talked about for thousands and thousands of years? Why is it still alive? And how can I access the benefits that everybody's talking about these days? Well, this certainly is a really busy time. I mean, it seems like with all the digital gadgets we have, we should be able to do more with less, but it turns out we seem to have more to do with less time now. So everybody's facing too much to do with not enough time, too many bills to pay with not enough money, and people are really looking for quick fixes because the stress levels are so high. And, really, there's a lot of people now who are finding better living through chemistry in terms of taking pharmaceuticals in order to sleep, in order to digest their food, in order to get up in the morning, in order to feel calm at a meeting, in order to walk through the world without an allergy, to reduce their anxiety. And so what's happening is that we're just going from one problem to the next. We're just trying to put Band-Aids on it rather than addressing the source of the problem, which is trying to navigate the world by our external measures of how do we look, how much money do we have, what is our title, is everybody around me happy? When we look to our exterior world or the external world for our sense of security and for our sense of stability, it's a really rocky way to live life, as we all know. And so with meditation, one of the benefits, and I had no idea this was going to happen, but one of the benefits is it changes one's reference point for life so that now their reference point is the internal world, is what I like to call the soul center, so that when the external world throws you a curveball, which it will, whether it's disease or being fired from a job or just not having things go your way, there's a sense that you're going to be okay anyway, even if things are not always the way you want them. So it's really true that when you close your eyes and you meditate, even for a short time, every day or every other day or whatever you can fit in your schedule, you do change your reference point. So you start listening to yourself more and making choices that are in alignment with what you know to be right for you rather than trying to keep up with everybody else around you.
Boy, that just sounds exactly what all of us need, that our reference point is inside instead of the reference point being comparing, do I have as big a house? Do I have as, good-looking a boyfriend? Do I have the corner office? And you're never going to win if that's your reference point. You will never win. You'll never be happy. And if the reference point, I love what you say, the soul center, then you're going to be okay anyway. So what I am understanding is that it's not just during the moments of meditation that you feel that way, but you start feeling that way outside, no matter what's going on. You get fired, or those other examples that you use, and you still feel that anchored feeling.
Well, it's not like you're immune from disturbance. I don't want anyone to go and believe that. But what happens is your recovery time is so much faster. It doesn't rock your world for the next year, or it doesn't throw you so off balance that everything else around you crumbles. So yes, and that internal reference point does get cultivated in the actual practice of meditation. But what I always tell my students is that meditation is practiced not for the experiences that you have during the practice, but it really shows the benefits while you're walking through the world, how you react or respond to upset, how, You make choices based on what you really believe in rather than what you think everybody else thinks you should do. And so the benefits of meditation reveal themselves as you live your life, not so much when you're just sitting there with your eyes closed.
Well, speaking of when you're sitting there with your eyes closed, there are many of us who have a little bit ADD going on, and it is hard for us to sit still, and our minds are going a million miles an hour. Can people like that learn to meditate?
I have to say most students come in there into my office or into my studio and they say, I know meditation works for everybody else, but it's not going to work for me because I'm type A and I have way more thoughts than anyone else. And what I can tell them and what I can tell your listeners and you is that meditation actually changes your relationship to the thought experience. So what does that mean? It means if you have a lot of disturbing thoughts or any kind of thought when you close your eyes and you become reactive to them, let's say you close your eyes and you remember you needed to make a phone call or you needed to check your email or you forgot to turn in a certain project, the minute you close your eyes in meditation, these thoughts are going to arise and they're going to make you want to jump up and stop meditating. If in the practice of meditation you learn that thoughts are going to happen anyway, they happen to just get louder when your eyes are closed, but you are not to respond to them in your meditation, but to return your attention back to the focus of your meditation, you actually change the brain. It's what's called neuroplasticity. You change your relationship to the reactivity part of the brain, the part of the brain that's in charge of the fight or flight response, the amygdala. And when you don't get up in the middle of your meditation because you have an anxiety attack and you sit through it, you actually learn how to sit through reactivity when you're in a meeting or in a relationship. So it really translates out there, and not only translates, it actually changes the shape of the brain.
Really?
Yeah.
And it remains changed.
It remains changed. The insula is the part of the brain that's about self-awareness, and that part tends to get more activated, and actually they call it gyrifications, more folds in it, because you become so much more self-aware of your habits of mind and behaviors, but the reactivity part of the brain, the amygdala, starts to shrink. And now you don't want to think about this too much while you're meditating, but it is good to know that you're not just sitting around doing nothing. You're actually training your attention, you're training your brain, and you're becoming more powerful because you've practiced in your meditation how to be the one in charge, not to be reactive to thoughts. And then again, like I say, it translates so nicely into the world that we have to navigate. So if I gave you a pill that I said to you, okay, take this pill every day, but you have to sit perfectly still with your eyes closed for 20 minutes after you take the pill. And what this will do for you is it will enhance your DHEA levels, your youth hormone. It will enhance your immune system. It will make you clearer and have better memory and better focus. It will help you to sleep better and digest your food better. It will improve your circulation, and it'll make you more engaged with life and more loving towards yourself and other people. Would you take it?
I would.
I know, but it's so funny because if it's in a pill shape or pill form, people say yes. If it requires just simply self-discipline in order to do it, then people tend to just dismiss it. You know, there are 3 ingredients to every meditation, and one of them is the willingness to sit down and do it. And there are plenty of people that I call reluctant meditators that do benefit from meditation, but we'll talk about them later. But the first ingredient to any meditation is your willingness to set aside the time and do it. The second ingredient for any meditation is your gentle attention. You know, some people think it takes superhuman powers of concentration to meditate, and it doesn't. I used to believe that anyway, that there was something wrong with me. I couldn't clear my mind, and that I had to really try harder. But it doesn't require that. It just requires your gentle focus, what you're listening to me with. And the third ingredient, and this is where all the meditations kind of take off into their various flavors and techniques, is a focus for your meditation. Whether it's something you feel, whether it's something you see, or whether it's something you hear. And so using those 3 senses of sound and sight and touch, those are the main focuses for meditation rather than what you smell and what you taste. But there's so many varieties of meditation. It means so many things to so many different people. But I can say that they all boil down to being able to focus on one thing at a time for a certain period of time with your eyes closed if you're doing a formal meditation practice, or while you're in activity, just continually anchoring your attention to what you're doing while you're doing it. And all of this is done with a non-judgmental attitude, with no judgment, with no competition, with no berating yourself.
But do you recommend that people do both? Obviously, you recommend that people learn a formal meditation technique where they sit, and I know that's what you teach, but do you also recommend a way to train the brain is to focus on one thing at a time as a practice, or there's a specific practice around focusing on one thing at a time?
Well, both. For instance, the buzzword these days is mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation and mindfulness in activity. And now a lot of people say that your whole life can be a meditation. Well, that's not necessarily true for someone who has not practiced it and they're reactive and they're stressed. Life is not a meditation. It's something you have to deal with. And so sitting in a meditative practice, even if it's 5 minutes in the morning, helps to train your attention in 3 ways. It helps to train your attention to focus on one thing at a time. Let's say you're focusing on your breath for the entire 5 minutes. You can focus on the feeling of your breath. And while you're listening now, your listeners can do this, just focus on the feeling or the sensation of the breath as you sit here. You can close your eyes and feel. That breath has been happening since day one of your life. And it can be a focus and is one of the most traditional focuses for meditation. Just paying attention to the breath. Now, the mind travels, of course, but as you do that, you turn your attention inward, you focus on one thing at a time, and your breath is always in the present moment. So regardless of what the focus is for your meditation, you will always focus on one thing at a time. You will always turn your attention inward to how you're feeling in response to what you're doing and what you're thinking and what's going on in there. And then you're also anchoring your attention to this moment right here, right now. This is your moment right now, Debra, and with me, Sarah, and your listeners. This is when your life is actually taking place. This is it. And everybody is often thinking about, well, when I get this, I'll be happy. Or if this hadn't have happened, I'd be happy. But this is the moment that your life is actually being lived. So mindfulness is a practice that's practiced formally in a sitting meditation and in activity. So let's say I'm doing some dishes. What mindfulness would look like there is anchoring my attention to what I'm doing while I'm doing it. It doesn't mean I'm talking on the phone while I'm doing my dishes or planning my lesson plan for the next class while I'm doing my dishes. I'm literally feeling my hands go from wet to dry or dry to wet. I'm getting the soap on my hands and on the sponge, and I'm smelling the lavender from my soap. I'm moving the sponge on the dishes, and I am seeing them go from dirty to clean, and I'm listening to the water. So I'm smelling the soap. I'm listening to the water. I'm feeling the sensations of heat and coolness and wet and dryness on my hands. I'm feeling the heaviness of the plates or the pans, and I'm really engaged with a non-judgmental attitude. And why is this important? Because we're so not present for our lives. And I think you were talking about this before. Why is it such a challenging time? Why is everybody losing it? Because they're not here. They're just busy being reactive. From the moment they get up in the morning, they're planning what they're doing, and they're not right here where life is really beautiful.
You know, it's so interesting, just even the description of doing the dishes, and I'm thinking, I have never paid attention when I was doing the dishes. So when you're present to what you're doing at the moment, what you find is that, again, your brain starts to change, and then you effortlessly become more present without even having to think about it?
Absolutely. It's a training. Meditation is just not mystical, even though you can have mystical experiences. And believe me, I'm in Sedona, Arizona, where most people talk about that. But the truth is, the mystical aspect of meditation is when you're simply awake and alive and aware of your life. So when you look up at the sky at night and you're not in meditation, the stars are so intimate with your life. And the reflection of the light on the leaves that are rustling, you're so awake to that versus not being present for the beauty. We keep waiting for these magical moments. I mean, we're sold them, on television. Have this soft drink and you're going to have a blissful moment. Well, the blissful moments can be happening right now, but we have to be here in order to experience them with our attention. So the body's always right here. Your breath is always right here. Your life is always right here. But we have gotten into the habit, like you mentioned, of multitasking, which, by the way, is not efficient. There's been a number of studies on that, and what they find is that it's actually creating more stress. And so multitasking helps you to miss the moments of your life. And you know when people are multitasking when you're on the phone with them. You know when people are multitasking when you're at dinner with them and they're constantly checking their device. You know when people are checked out. So meditation really helps you to check in, not only in with your own life, but check in with the people that you love or you say you love and be present for them. And also in the present moment, this moment, whether it's this moment or another present moment, that's the moment you feel your feelings. When you're in the present moment, you get inspired or you feel creative or you fall in love or you have a spiritual experience. It happens when you're attending to your life. It doesn't happen when you're checked out and thinking about the past, that you have a spiritual experience. And they don't happen in the future. They happen when you're right here. And that's when synchronicities occur and when your intuition kicks in and you feel the gut feelings or you have the aha moment. When we're not here, our body's here, our breath is here, but we're traveling off on some mental trip, we miss all the good stuff.
You can also feel when somebody else is not present for you. Sometimes it makes me feel so small, like I'll be sharing something on the phone. I actually feel like crying, something that's so meaningful to me, and the person is going, and you can hear in the background that they're doing something else. And I don't know, maybe I'm just so sensitive, but I feel like, gosh, what am I, chopped liver, And what I'm hearing you say is that if we make it a practice ourselves to be in the present moment, to not be multitasking because it's going to make us less efficient instead of more, which is brilliant, that perhaps when we start doing that ourselves, then we'll get that back more from other people. Does that seem to reciprocate?
Oh, absolutely. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. How can we expect other people to listen to us if we're not able to listen to them or not able to listen to ourselves? So we have to practice here. We have to practice here, and that's what meditation helps us to do, is to bring it home, to cultivate self-compassion, to cultivate listening to ourselves, to cultivate loving ourselves. And I know that sounds so simple and trite, but I always say self-love is the final frontier, really, in anybody's spiritual practice, and especially Westerners. It's not so much the case in the Eastern countries, but in America and Canada, we find we beat ourselves up quite a bit, like it's our habit. And, just to get back to listening, I always say listening is love. Listening is love. And you're being loved. Think about someone who truly gets you, who truly is there for you, and how you feel when you share some of your deepest thoughts, or even if you don't share anything and just get to sit with them in the silence for a moment, and they're not going to leave you. It's just such an honor. And we've lost that self-respect, and we've lost that respect or reverence for others. We give everything lip service, and life becomes more meaningless. We have all the things, but they mean nothing. If I get this, then I'll be happy. Well, you could probably be happy now, because what I believe is what you put your attention on grows in your awareness. And meditation helps you to train your attention. And that's really what it's for. I mean, yes, you can have other experiences. You can have transcendent experiences. You can have, expanded awareness experiences, awakened state experiences, but it's really about being in love with your life and being in love with the people you say you're in love with and making choices that are in alignment with yourself and your personal vows so that you can love yourself.
And, when I was talking at the beginning about what people were going to learn today, how meditation can make you a more loving, authentic, and powerful person. And I remember in my mind reading that bullet point and thinking, really? But now I'm saying that it can make you more loving and authentic and powerful.
Well, I think it was Gandhi who said, happiness is if what you think and what you say and what you do are all in alignment. And we talk about meditation, some people say it comes from the yoga tradition. And we tend to think of yoga as postures, but the yoga tradition, if you read the ancient texts, the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, you'll find there's only very few references to postures, and most of the text is really referring to brain training or attention training. And so the yoga that we're really talking about here is yoking your awareness with every other part of your life. So what you say and think and do are all in alignment with what you think and feel and know are the most important things to you. Now, everybody's a little bit different. Paul Newman, he was a real environmentalist. And though he went and got his salad dressings into McDonald's, most important thing to him was the environment. He said they were, pretty good with the environment. And then there's somebody like Nelson Mandela who believed in equal rights and peacefulness and cooperation, right? And so that was his primary vow. And, whether it's Diane Fossey who wanted to save the gorillas, her vow was to honor species, interspecies reverence. And, everybody's got a different, I'd have to say, software of the soul, what they are born in this world to create that yoga with, to create that alignment with. Let's put it this way. You might be walking around with dirty glasses and you don't even know it. Meditation helps you to walk around with cleaner glasses so you can see your world more clearly and respond to it in a better way. And instead of the integration of yoga, let me tell you some of the disintegration that happens, and this is why people have had it. Saying one thing and doing another, or knowing that the answer to a question is no, but they say yes to please other people. Not saying what you mean, not doing what you say, not speaking your truth, not asking for what you want. These are the ways that stress starts to accumulate in our nervous system. Not only that, they take the obvious, not enough sleep, eating junk food, staying up too late, being in a job you don't like, being in toxic relationships, having too much to do and not enough time to do it. Those are obviously all stressful. But when you start to add some of these other deep-seated lack of integrity behaviors that we take on in order to kind of quote-unquote make it, this is what's pushing us over the edge. This is what's doing it. And meditation is a way to yoke back into what we believe is important to us and what really drives us to be engaged in our lives. And it's different for everybody. I was at a birthday party, mine, recently, and I do this quite a bit. I turn birthday parties into little mini retreats. So I went around the room and I asked people, what were their values? What were their vows? And it was amazing because some people's vows were silence and creativity. One of my best friend's vows is to be completely committed to the family and to her sisters and brothers and her nieces and nephews. Mine is to the work I want to do in this world, what you're helping me to do now. Some people's, my husband's, he was really interested in being alone and meditating all the time. So it's just very different to really look at what's important to you. And I'm not saying not to make concessions, but to be conscious of the choices that you're making rather than reactive to everybody else's needs and desires.
Wow. You have so much of a rich
storehouse of knowledge that is not just, okay, close your eyes and do this, and this is how you meditate. Because, when you think of meditation, you think you're just going to learn a practice. And thinking of you as a meditation teacher, I thought, we will just hear about a practice. But there's so much richness in all of this for our lives because, of course, I started thinking, okay, what is my vow? Why am I here? Yeah. And that's a beautiful question for everybody to think about. And I was thinking maybe this is a good time to bring us into a meditation. Would that be all right?
Absolutely. And before we do that, I'm actually going to take us into a kind of a self-inquiry, mindfulness, going into a self-inquiry practice. And I just want you to know that those questions, Debra, when you ask, what is my vow? You don't have to have an answer right away. And this is another thing I teach. Let me just quickly say a few things. Going into meditation with a beginner's mind is essential. If you've had thousands of hours of meditation, begin each one as if you've never done it before. Just allow whatever is going to emerge rather than going, I know what this is or I know what that is, because that I know mind can really create a barrier to seeing life as it really is. And when you have thoughts and meditations that seem, quote unquote, unrelated to the meditation itself, don't beat yourself up. Be sweet to yourself and just return your focus back to either my voice or whatever it is you're meditating on. The last one is not to try too hard. Meditation is a practice. It requires a gentle focus. Just like you're listening to me, you can turn your attention right now to your right hand. And you can feel that when you do that, your right hand is enlivened a little bit. You can feel it a little bit more, even though it doesn't require much. And now you can turn your attention to your left hand. You can feel that it enlivens just by you attending to it. So it's a gentle attention. Attention's powerful beyond measure, and we could talk about that another time. But in general, meditation is simple. And the questions you're asking, that what is my vow, you do not need an answer. And there's Marie Rainier Rilke. He wrote Letters to a Young Poet, and he said, live the questions. Be with that question. What is my vow? You don't have to have the I know mind and have the answer now. Just live that question into its answer. So that being said, let's move into a meditation.
That would be perfect.
Great. Well, I love to meditate with you, and I love meditating with anyone, anytime, anywhere, so this is always a treat for me. So what I suggest you do is find yourself in a comfortable position, ideally sitting up, because sometimes when we get really relaxed and we're lying down, it turns into a nap versus a meditation. So let's meditate instead of nap. And I generally like to have a little back support, so you can sit on the sofa or chair or get on the floor and leaning up against something. And you can put your hands up on your lap or down or clasp them in your lap. There's no particular shoulds in terms of what I believe. I mean, I definitely did some austere practices at the monastery, but you don't have to. That is not what's going to necessarily take you to where you want to go. What does take you is sitting with your eyes closed and sticking with the practice for the allotted amount of time. And today we'll do about 8 minutes. So as you're sitting here, get comfortable. The idea is to sit with your eyes closed in a relatively still way. But if you need to open your eyes and look around, do so, and then you can close them again. And if you need to move your body for one reason or another, you can do it, but do it mindfully. Just pay attention to what movement feels like. So let's begin with some slow, long, deep breaths through your nose. Oftentimes, when we're learning something new, we hold our breath. Also, slow, long, deep breaths help to really adjust the nervous system. So if you were in the fight or flight response, you can move to the rest and digest response. In and out through your nose, matching the length of your inhale to the length of your exhale. And not holding your breath on either end. And you can let your breath return to its natural rhythm and depth, and we'll begin. And with your eyes closed, you might begin to notice that you're a little more aware of the sounds in your environment. So take a moment now and just allow yourself to hear what's out there without labeling it, but just notice whatever it may be, hums or creaks or cracks, sounds near and far. Just allowing yourself to receive the sounds. Sound is never a barrier to meditation. Also, while you're sitting with your eyes closed, you might become a little more aware of how your body is feeling, the sensations in your body. Maybe the temperature changes, or pressure, or tension, or relaxation. Maybe you feel some aliveness or some pain. What I like to do, and I invite you to join in with me, I move from the top of the head to the bottoms of your feet with a body awareness practice. This helps to relax your whole body and helps you to be right here, right now. And we do this with a non-judgmental attitude. There's no naming bad or good parts. We're just feeling from the inside out and relaxing as we go. Relaxing your forehead and your scalp. Relaxing your eyes and your face. Relax your ears. You can tuck your chin in just a little bit and allow the back of your neck to lengthen slightly. Letting your shoulders drop. Arms relaxed. Hands relaxed. You can let your hips sink into the chair or the cushion as your spine reaches from the base of your tailbone to the base of your skull, like a tree reaching for the sky. Relaxing your back around your spine. Relaxing your chest and your diaphragm. Relaxing your belly. Letting your whole pelvis relax. Relaxing your legs. Relaxing your feet and your toes. You can feel your whole body relax. Feel your whole body as livingness. Maybe you can feel your breath as it expands your chest and back and belly. The rise and fall, the in and out. Allowing your breath to remain natural at its own rhythm and depth. It might change. It could get faster or slower or deeper or shallower. Just feel your breath as it moves the body. If your attention drifts away, just bring it back here to the rise and fall of your chest. You can even drop your attention to the center of your chest, right there behind your breastbone. You can even put your hand there if you like and feel the rise and fall. And with your attention here, we're going to begin a self-inquiry practice. This is simply a practice done in silence, and there's no need to come up with any answers. It's a questioning meditation. So with your attention in the center of your chest, you can silently ask yourself a question a few times and then return to the stillness. The first one you can ask yourself is, who am I? Who is this one sitting here? Silently ask yourself a few times, and then return your attention to the silence. Who am I? Who is this one sitting here? And you can let that question go. And the second question you can ask yourself is, what is my secret vow? What is my heart's desire? Simply ask yourself silently and return to the stillness. And you can let that question go. The last question of this practice is, how can I best love myself? How can I best love myself? Simply ask a few times and return to the silence as you keep your body relaxed. And you can bring your attention now to your breath, feeling that gentle inhale and exhale, cool air as you inhale through your nose, the warmed breath as you exhale, letting go of all the questions and just being here with your body and your breath, right here where your life is. Just sense your own presence. Turn your attention to the one who's listening. You can let this go and simply sit in the stillness. It's always important to come out of meditation slowly, even if you only went for a few minutes, and even if you don't think you had a deep experience. You never judge our meditations by the experiences that happen in the meditation. Instead, we look towards our lives for the measures of success. Are we happier? Are we lighthearted? Are we more engaged? Are we better listeners? But welcome to that world of self-inquiry and meditation, and you can keep your eyes closed as long as you like. But when you are ready, come out of meditation slowly, first with a downward gaze. And when you're ready to engage, you can open your eyes all the way. But it's like waking up from sleep. You don't want to jump up out of bed. You want to take your time. How did that work for you, Debra?
That was spectacular. You know, actually, even though I say I'm kind of ADD, I actually tend to be a calm and centered person, but I didn't realize how not calm and centered I was until I started doing that. It was so delicious. I just loved it, and the self-inquiry piece was exquisite. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
I was thinking, while we're all coming out kind of slowly, I'm curious about what's possible for the people who are listening today. Can you take a few minutes and share some of the results or turnarounds that you've seen in people's lives once they start using this, applying what you teach?
Well, I did say that one of the ingredients required is willingness, but I love this story about this man. He was literally called Judge Meany, and he came to one of my classes as a favor to a friend because she knew his cardiologist had said that, there's no more medication he can go on, and he was furious at everybody. He had a very stressful job down in Phoenix as prosecuting some of the serial killers, so he was at his wit's end, and his body looked that way, and so he came as a favor to the friend, and the friend didn't come. And so he sat there as a reluctant meditator and learned to meditate and knew he really didn't have a choice. I mean, his doctor told him to do it. And so fast forward 4 or 5 years, he's still a judge, but he literally teaches meditation. He does yoga all the time. He is no longer called Judge Meany. It's so sweet. There's another woman who had no idea that she had a creative bone in her body. Let's put it that way. But because she was becoming so present to this kind of creative impulse, and that only happens when you're present, she just decided that she was going to start writing. And since she's written, I'd have to say she's published at least, I think, 3 books now, that she just literally started to listen to the whisperings of her soul because she could hear them once the din of life started quieting down with the practice of meditation. And then, of course, one of my friends, she's meditating and has become a meditation teacher. I call her my friend because most of my students become my friends after a while. And she ended up doing a lot of meditation practice and really hearing where she kind of sold herself short in terms of doing things for other people rather than for herself. What happened, unfortunately, is that she ended up with a serious disease, but she said if she hadn't learned to meditate, she would not have been able to handle that as well as she has. I mean, she's still making really nourishing choices, and I think she's in a remission state, but she said, it was grace that had her learn to meditate so that she could manage some of the effects of the stress that goes along with a diagnosis. So people become more creative. People fall in love. I've seen a few of those because as they start falling in love with themselves, it makes them much more available for other people to fall in love with them too. It's like we have to be the change we want to see in the world. We have to fall in love with ourselves. We have to listen to ourselves. We have to honor our creative impulses and our secret vows. And we literally have to do that in order for our lives to really show us how great it can be, how great life can be. Once we start to believe it, it starts to show it to us. And also, I can say that once we get rid of the veil of stress that keeps us from seeing life as beautiful, we start to see that life is happening for us rather than to us. And it's a subtle shift, and we didn't even know we had that. Some of us don't even realize we've become victims of our own lives. But it happens when we're stressed out. And we have to handle the kids and handle the job and handle the bank account and handle the laundry. And, Einstein said the most important decision we have to make in our lives is this world a friendly place? And it becomes friendly with meditation. I can guarantee it.
Well, we are all ready to get out of victim mode, to get rid of the veil, and I know that there is so much more that we can learn from you, Sarah. And I know that you created a special offer for everyone who's listening to this call. So first of all, I highly encourage everyone to go to look at Sarah's special offer right now and experience it for yourself. Just click on the special offer button that's on this page. So Sarah, can you let everyone know what they'll find there?
Absolutely. I really love what I've got to teach people because obviously an hour is not enough time. So I have put together an 8-week audio meditation course, which is called Living a Soul-Centered Life. And this is really where you learn how to be more alert to the present moment and how to make more conscious choices and how to become much more in tune with your emotions and more sensitive to your body. Also learning how to become more compassionate with yourself and to enhance your listening skills. I mean, this is an 8-week program. Well, I know there are many, many practices and meditations that you're guided through. So I love that one. And the reason I chose 8 weeks is because that's what they say it takes in order to make this lasting change. And the changes in meditators' brains, it doesn't just happen while you're meditating. It's a permanent change. The other part of my offer is the simple, easy, everyday meditation method. It's a way of creating a daily practice that is really like a preventative measure. It's like taking a vitamin every day, and how to do it in a simple way so that you don't get sidetracked. I really love that. That's what I teach here in Sedona in person, and this is a great way to learn how we do it because I've put all the secrets in there. And usually the course is 2.5 hours, but the one that's on this special offer is probably about, it could take you maybe 20 hours to go through. And then the next one is I developed a program called Sedona Soul Sessions, and I interviewed people in Sedona that are soul-centered, and not everybody does it my way. And I asked them, how do you maintain your center point of peace when life comes at you? And Sedona is like a haven for many, many change agents and, people seeking peace and teaching peace. And so there are beautiful interviews with them, and you really find real practical advice on how to apply their principles to your everyday life. So not only do you get to hear my insights, you get to hear these beautiful souls as they share, from shamans to Tibetan nuns to outdoor adventure guides and forgiveness counselors. And then we've also got guided meditations and instruction that include the simple mantra practices, a transformational healing meditation, guided gratitude meditation, which I have heard people do with their kids. And the kids just see the world in a new way and begin becoming grateful for the littlest things. And that's a beautiful thing for kids. And then there are a couple of bonus meditations that I've thrown in here, and they're not available anywhere else. There's the Loving Your Body, Transcending Your Mind. That's a 40-minute meditation. It's really about changing your relationship with your body. And the other one, which is one of my favorites that I love to do every day, is the Loving Kindness meditation. It is really to develop more inner peace and self-realization about, we all say we want to be kind and loving. So this really helps us to see where we might be missing some pointers and refining our lives, because there is no there. You said earlier, Debra, I consider myself a grounded, centered person, and I'm not so much. I realize, well, the thing is, there is no end point to this practice. It's like you never become finished with your self-realization path. There's no end.
Well, this is such a beautiful, beautiful offering because, again, there's so many people who want to begin to meditate and they just don't know where to start. They want the benefits that you so beautifully explained, but they don't know where to start. And here you've given it to us and in such a beautiful way. And I know all of these are downloadable, so people will get this immediately. They could start meditating today. They could start meditating in the next few minutes and have all of the results that you've talked about. And wow, thank you so much for putting this together. And can you just give me an idea, give all of us an idea of what you believe the biggest benefits that people can expect to experience starting right away and
Sure.
then over time by using and applying what they learn in your program?
Well, I had my teachers, when they come for their teacher training, list what really happened for them. And so, immediately people noticed they had better immunity. They were able to sleep better. They were able to digest their food better. And that was just the physical. The mental, they were less reactive and less caught in other people's dramas and more focused and had a better memory. Then emotionally, people found that they were much more self-compassionate and, again, like we said, are more available for other people. And they really felt there was an enhanced feeling of interconnectedness with life. They could really feel that their life had purpose and that life meant something. And so these are just some of them. Of course, there were many spiritual feelings. They just started realizing that they were important and that their life really meant something and they were born for a reason. And it helped people, it changes people's lives on so many levels, and it depends on who you are and what kind of changes kind of need to happen. And I'd like to actually say they're transformations because you never really go back. It's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly and moving into life in a more graceful way. So it depends on who you are and what your issues are or what your challenges are, that meditation will start showing up and helping.
I love that distinction between change and transformation, because you could change and then you could change back. But what you're offering is actual transformation.
Absolutely. I mean, it works for everybody. You know, you can never know, because some people do it and it's like planting a seed and they go off in their own world. And, you know, I hear from them 4 or 5 years later and they tell me how amazing their life is. And I love that. But I hear from people who learn and they call me the next day and said, oh, my God, I've never slept a full night's sleep before and I feel like a new person. Can you imagine? It's powerful.
We'll take all of the above. So one more time.
If you haven't done it yet, just click on the special offer button on this page to see for yourself what an amazing package this is. You will be so glad you did.
And this has been so fantastic. I still feel so centered and so calm. I'm going to go be with some friends now. They're not even going to recognize me. So before we say goodbye, is there anything else, any final thoughts that you want to share with everyone?
You are so powerful, and you don't even know how powerful you can be. And I think that if you take charge of where and how you focus your attention, you will make a life that totally thrills and engages you. And I can't wait till you get to do it.
And I can't wait till everybody gets to do it also. Thank you so much for being with us today, Sarah. Just really from the bottom of my heart, this has been wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Debra. I love the work you do in the world, and thank you for helping so many people.
Well, it's my pleasure to be able to bring people, luminaries like yourself. And thank you to everyone for spending this time with me and with Sarah McLean. And I look forward to when we could all be together again. This is Debra Poneman. Have a wonderful rest of your day.